Check out the Male Advantage paperback, ebook, and audiobook using the links below.
Right then, boys, I hope you can hear me. I've got to go and buy some lav mics at some point so that I can kind of clip them on here. I was looking earlier, they're pretty cost effective, so I think I'm going to grab some. But I just thought it'd be really cool to just sit out here. I'm just recording on my phone at the moment whilst filming on the camera. I just thought it'd be really cool to light this up, sit out here, change the vibe a little bit. I know you're not punched in on my face. I know you can't really see me that well. I just think it's cool though, it's different, do you know what I mean? We'll get some better facilities in the future, we'll get a better lens and stuff like that, but this is so relaxing, it's so warm as well. I told you about those bikes, didn't I, guys? It's all the time, but this is so relaxing, honest to God. Imagine a podcast out here, me and Hamza, that'd be sick. Get the fire going, proper cameras, set it up, you know, get us sat next to each other, rearrange the furniture, whatever. I think it'd be biblical. The amount of views, we'll probably get 1 million views in a week. That thumbnail alone would be amazing. It's going well. Look at it, guys. It took me ages to get that started. The way that I ended up getting it started was the firelighter that I had. I put it on full flame, the maximum length, and then I lit up a toilet roll holder, the inner tube bit, and wrapped loads of firewood in that, and then it just ended up going nuts, and I think that's in for the night now. So, but the reason I wanted to come out here and make a video, guys, so the topic of discussion, so to speak, is centered around the sheer loneliness of men out there at the moment, the sheer number of problems for men that's going on in the world right now. And I don't know whether you'd call it a fortunate position or unfortunate position, because it's quite draining, but at the same time I'm helping people and I get to see everything that's going on. But my YouTube comments, my DMs, my emails, every single day I've got thousands of men all saying stuff like, hey Chris, I'm too short, I'm losing my hair, things aren't going well in life, my girlfriend just left me and I'm broke and she went off with a millionaire, what do I do? How do I reclaim that situation? Can I sort this out and whatnot? And it made me realize guys everywhere, all around the world, are dealing with shit. I'm just watching these little embers fly off just in case they start setting light to this sofa. The AstroTurf is not flammable, which is great, because that could be a shit show. But yeah, there's guys all around the world, with just problems on a daily basis, and it's so sad. It's so sad to read some of these, and I really mean that. And I've got nothing but sympathy for these guys as well, because I've been in that situation where you lose your hair and life just doesn't feel that good, or you're trying to attract women, you're getting rejected by 50, 100 a month, whoever you go up to, girls that you even think are below you are rejecting you. And you just feel what is the point in continuing, right? And here's the thing, guys, here's the sad thing about being a man, but at the same time, it's going to wake you up, okay? Is that sympathy doesn't exist for men. It doesn't exist, okay? It exists for women, it exists for children, but you cannot sit there and sulk. You cannot sit there and sulk and say, I'll get some sympathy pussy. I'll get some sympathy money, I'll get something handed out to me. It's just not going to happen. Okay, so no matter what your problem is, 5'8", bold, lonely, whatever your problem is, the country that you grew up in, literally nobody cares. Okay, people go, oh, that's terrible, I feel so sorry. Then nobody cares, okay? If it's a woman, somebody will put their arm around them. If it's a child, somebody will give them that kind of talk. As a man, you're just expected to get on with it and just do what's necessary. So the reason I'm saying this, every single, at least 1 an hour, somebody does that. I don't know, where do I live? Do you know what I mean? It's ridiculous. I'm next to a MotoGP course or something like that. But the reason I say that, the reason I kind of bring up that point about men, is it leaves you with an ultimatum. Sadly, guys, it leaves you with an ultimatum where you sit there and you think to yourself, if it was an ember on my arm then, If nobody's going to feel sorry for you, nobody's going to give you any sympathy, nobody's going to say, hey, do you know what, even though you're struggling, we're going to look for an alternative route. Like, nobody's going to do that. Nobody's going to hand anything out. You've literally got one option, which is to just keep driving forward. Okay, that's the singular option. You've got no other choice. Like, as shit as it is, you just have to keep moving forward. As simple as that sounds as a concept in a video, I think this is kind of the embodiment. You know, me sat here, lounged out on my rooftop terrace with a fire lit. Life is fucking amazing, do you know what I mean? But you guys have seen me at my worst. You guys have seen me make videos on depression. You guys have seen me at my lowest possible points, you know, where just like business wasn't that great, just sat in a garage, do you know what I mean, trying to push it all forwards, and then all of a sudden just like crypto, supplements, like everything starts kicking off, and you just don't know when it's gonna happen. But like I said, when things are bad, nobody's gonna give you any sympathy. You can have every negative on the planet, but nobody gives a fuck. Like, as a man, you are literally, like, I don't know how I can explain this better. You are a lone wolf. You are out in the wilderness on your own, and nobody's coming to save you. You're literally out on your own, okay? You're stranded. Like, imagine being on a little raft out in the ocean, and nobody's coming to rescue you. You've got to paddle all the way back to shore. That's male life, okay? And you've got no option. You just cannot retreat. You cannot retreat. In male life, there's just no going back. It's the only way I can describe it. If you ever take a step back, everything goes wrong. Everything fucks up. Like, you can never... It is never a good option to sit there and cower, or sit there and feel sorry for yourself, or look for sympathy, or try and get pity, or, you know, text an ex and be like, I miss you, please, like I'm lonely. It's like, it just never works. In the history of men, it has never worked. It's always forward. I was talking to a guy at the gym earlier, a real sand guy, a friend of mine from the hometown that I grew up in, and he won't mind me talking about this because he's a real decent guy, and it's not like that bad, it's not that personal. But he was talking about how he's in like a relationship at the moment, and he was like, she's not that attractive in his opinion. He was like, and it's just starting to bother him, and he was like, I wanna kind of like upgrade, do you know what I mean, so to speak. And it reminded me of that concept that I spoke to you guys about before. Like, when you go through a breakup or you get rejected, whatever, you can fall backwards and you can look for the sympathy, and you can go and I'm not saying this guy did this, but it reminded me of the scenario, okay? You can like fall backwards and you can go and find a woman who's not as attractive. You can go and get a job with less pay that you don't actually want because you got rejected for the better one. You know, you can go and every time you take that step back, it weakens you as a man. It weakens you, okay? Because like I said, there's no sympathy, there's nothing. Every time you take a hit and you go back step, like taking a punch, you know, and you kind of give up, it fucks up your life. It just, you know, women respect you less, your life's going to be worse. You start this mental game in your head as well, guys, which is probably the worst case scenario. You know, it's like if your alarm clock goes off in the morning at like 5 a.m. and you hit snooze and you go back to sleep, you wake up at like 7:30. That's breeding a habit for the next day and the next day and the next day. And before you know where you are, it just becomes normal for you to do that. It's just part of your psyche, it's who you are, it's part of your identity. That's exactly what's happening with guys in everyday life. They get rejected, they get dumped, they regress. They go back, instead of upgrading and saying, do you know what, I'm going to go back at this again. Another one, man, this is crazy. I'm going to go back at this again. I'm going to try even harder. I'm going to upgrade further. I'm just going to get back on the horse and keep going, which is, as sad as it is to say, the only option. They regress, okay? So they get rejected by the 7s and 8s when they're younger. And they go, okay, I don't like the feeling of that. That feels terrible. I'm going to take a back step. That 4 really wants to sleep with me. I'm going to go after her. You know, I'm just using women there as an example. But is that healthy? Is that healthy to do, guys? Because I don't think it is. I don't think that's a healthy mentality for men. Like I said, I'm sat here now. I've pretty much got the first stage of my dream life all in place. And I did it from just keep moving forward, okay? Just every time something hit me in the face, I just said, no, I'm going to stand here and I'm just going to keep marching forward, okay? And I just don't think it's healthy to, for example, let's use women again, to not get what you want in life, to get the rejection and all the other stuff, and to start feeling like negative and taking pity on yourself and start feeling down and woe is me. And then some 3 out of 10 comes along and really likes you, and you think it's comfort. Do you know what I mean? It feels better than being on my own. It feels better than being lonely. And that concept right there scares me for men. I think it's so important for where you end up in life. Okay, because I think you're with somebody you know you're better than, you know you're doing it for comfort. What kind of mentality is that breeding? Because me personally, I would rather be single, lonely, sexless, frustrated, angry at the world and everything, than be with somebody who's like a 2 or 3 out of 10. I think it's better to have nothing than to have something you don't want. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's what so many guys are doing. They're living entire existence of a life that they don't want, a woman they don't want, a job that they don't want. How nice is that with the sound of the birds? I don't know if you can hear it, but that's cool, man. They're living an entire existence with a woman they don't want, a job they don't want, they're in a house they don't want, they're in the car they don't want, they've got a body that they don't want. They've got a routine in life that they don't really want. You know, you see these things on like Reddit, people post them out there, like, what's your biggest regret? They're like, my children, getting married young. Do you know what I mean? Stuff like that. And you just think, how many of those scenarios came from a guy regressing? Don't shit on me. How many of those came from a guy regressing, just moving backwards each time? Each time he took a hit, step back, before he gets to a point where he's taken so many steps back, he can't remember the route forward. And that's what I think's happened to so many guys, okay? That's the one difference between me and a lot of other people that I, come into contact with every single day. I'll take no as an answer, it's like if a woman says to you, no, I don't want you, okay, it's just next, move on, move forward. I think part of that comes down to like I said, I'm using women as an example because it's easy, every man can relate. It's like not every man can relate to like, oh, I want to go and buy a Ferrari, but I got knocked back and bought a Porsche, do you know what I mean? But I think a part of that for myself comes from the knowledge of the male advantage, of just knowing that men peak later than women and I eventually will win the game. And that's what I've always thought, and I've always thought that about like jobs. I've always thought that about like cars, clothes, stuff like that. Like I said to you guys, I just spent £1,000 on clothes. I never would have dreamed of doing that in the past. And the amount of times I like held back on that and had shit fashion and maybe got rejected or maybe got looked upon as being somebody who's poor and whatever, but I wasn't. And you're taking those hits, but I just kept moving forward, and I just kept, like, I see this in the comments all the time. People talk about my optimism. They're like, your optimism is probably your greatest strength. And I would agree. I'm always, if something bad happens, I might feel, I'm human, right? I might feel like a little bit shitty or a little bit down or a little bit like, never mind, that wasn't the result I wanted, which is normal. It doesn't last long. I found this with myself. Within 30 minutes, I'm already sat there coming up with a plan. I'm like, okay, watch this then. Watch what happens next. Watch the next upgrade. So I think that's just a nice way to share a mentality with you guys, that goes on in my life that's really helped me, and hopefully it can really help you guys too. I'm just conscious of how long I've got left on here. A little bit left. But it's so important in a male life. I think it might be one of the most important factors is how you deal with negatives, how you deal with things going wrong, okay? Because I think male life is just constant chaos. Like, since I've been here, this is probably like the first relaxing moment I've had. The only thing I'm missing is like a glass of wine, but it's been so chaotic. I haven't even had a chance to buy like a little glass of wine or bottle of wine or whatever, or like the glasses alone. I'd be drinking them out of a coffee mug. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's how chaotic it's been. But you got to embrace that chaos. When you're inside of it, things are going to go wrong. Things aren't going to go the way you want them to. You're going to be told things you don't want to hear. Female life, and I don't want to shit on females because you guys know I hate doing this, but and child life too, which involves boys. It's very protected. What the hell is going on there? It's very, very protected. Like whatever you do, somebody's looking after you. Whatever you do, there's a teacher or something like that. There's always a man to save you as a woman. Nobody ever really says like if a woman's fat, nobody tells her. If a guy's fat, everybody's like, he's a fat guy. Okay, she's just, you know, she's just a plus size woman. She's got curves and stuff like that. Like they're very protected. But male life is constant chaos, is constant rejection, is constant negativity. And the one thing that I've learned in the last like 2 months, like, this is so good because it's very recent, but I didn't have this before, is I've learned to live within the chaos. Like imagine I'm sat in the middle of that fire right now and I'm calm. That's how I've become now. Okay, everything going wrong, shit hits the fan. You know, you approach a woman and she's just in a mood that day and you're just like, nah, it's all good. You know, and you just keep moving. You need to live like that. You need to live like that permanently, okay? And if you can live like that in that constant chaos and keep moving forward with that calmness, knowing with the level of optimism that I have, things are going to get better, I promise you that as a triad system gets you to the end result. Okay, guys?
Check out the First Man Men's Lifestyle Supplement by using the links below.